I'm Josh Allen, and I'm a freelance filmmaker. For me, that actually encompasses a variety of different roles. Even being a director, I still shoot. I love getting behind the camera. I love shooting. I love having the camera in my hands. I love seeing what I'm doing. So on a day-to-day basis, that looks like a number of things for me. I love shooting doc stories, documentaries, whether they be short or long. I love human stories. I love human stories when you can really get to the heart of something, why someone cares about something. So those are the things that really resonate with myself. In a professional capacity, I might be booked on commercial projects, so little ad spots, but I also do music videos as well, which I love doing. My most recent work has been loads of fun. I was able to have the amazing opportunity to head out to Bonneville Speedway, the Salt Flats outside Salt Lake City, and filmed a mini doc about a couple of friends of mine. They took a Ducati 1198 out to the Salt Flats for the sheer pleasure of going on an adventure and having a ride out there. So the main thing that this enabled me to do from a creative perspective was get to know RED's new sensor, the Gemini. Now I first used this camera on the Honda job we did, and even then it was great because I was able to put my first impressions in, which were mind-blowing already, because I realized there was a whole creative tool set and palette that I was starting to delve into and discover what that really meant to me creatively. There's different cameras for different purposes, but it's about picking the right one for you, especially if you want to own and invest. But for me, in this specific instance, it was about me understanding what creative aspects that really brought to the table for me. So start with the things that we didn't have on the shoot. We didn't have the ability to tear the whole place apart, put loads of lights in, and take over the place. So what do we do instead? We try and bring a piece of equipment with us that can compensate for the things that we can't bring with us. A lot of directors of photography are afraid of the dark. They're afraid of the shadows. They're afraid of darkness because that's where our noise floor is. And what this new sensor does is opens up a new world of possibility in terms of sensitivity. And I've been, had my mind blown by images that have come out of a tiny Sony camera, the A7S II, because of its ability to actually handle that information. And in this instance, the Gemini spoke for itself. Even little things like being able to stop down the lens so that I'm obviously taking light away from the scene, but what that would typically do is bring me closer to my noise floor. Now in low light mode, 3200 ISO, suddenly my sensitivity is different. So the fact that I can stop the lens down using the low light mode or go to a high frame rate and not compromise my image quality, it's a nice little advantage. On the way to Salt Lake, Max in the car, sitting there, looking out the window, there's no light in there. There's none at all. There's a little bit of reflection coming from his mirror, his wing mirror, and there's a tiny bit from the dashboard. And I mean, I look at that shot, I'm still blown away right now. It's amazing what it can bring to the table. Another interesting advantage that I kind of knew about before I started shooting with camera, but I was able to really understand it when I put some anamorphic glass in front of it, is the actual physical sensor size. Not all Super 35 sensors are the same size, something we really must understand. Now in a specific instance of putting anamorphic glass in front of a taller sensor means you can actually use more of the image circle. So that's why the Gemini sensor can also go to that 5K 6.5, and I'm suddenly getting an accurate representation of what that lens was intended to do in the first place. Actually, it was incredibly challenging shooting at Bonneville. Not only the physical size of the place, it's hot, everything around you is white, it's reflective, so you're getting blinded the whole time. And what that also means is there's a lot of ambient light around me because the sun is just up in the sky and it's straight down on you. Even seeing the monitor, no matter what quality of monitor you have, is going to be a tricky task. So the fact that this camera gives me exposure tools that tell me what the data is doing, not just what I'm seeing on the monitor, what the data is doing. So I know where my exposure sits, I know where my highlights are, and I know where my shadows are because of what I'm seeing. The geoscope is mind-blowing, and that, in all honesty as well, with the RAW workflow, IPP2, the combination of all of these different tools really enabled me to make this film. Honestly, sitting back in cutting it and looking at the grade and the footage you've got, suddenly you're able to make those decisions, having the creative freedom to do that in post, push it around, be creative with it, start experimenting with your images. That's the most important part for all. Ultimately, getting that creative freedom back is the most important thing. The camera is an extension of you, your imagination, and it enables you to put your vision down into a physical medium. And that's what a camera's doing. Even things like the size and shape of it enables me to have more flexibility with those things. I can move it around, I don't get tired when I use it, and I can use it more. And because I can use it more, I can have more time thinking about being creative, getting the shots I want, and the modular design of it means that I can tailor that camera to my purposes, and someone else can tailor it to their purposes too. Not having beyond 5K was certainly no deal breaker. In my case, I'd much rather start with a 5K sensor and then not have to crop in too much when I want to go high frame rates. And the fact that the camera gives me a multitude of advantages over other camera systems meant that it was one that I want to invest in. That's a big deal. It's not something that I take upon lightly, and people shouldn't. It's not about the latest, greatest. No camera is going to make you better at your job. It's just going to give you more creative choices and more options. That's the most important thing.